The blue skies above New York darkened without warning. It wasn't a storm. Something else blocked the sun, something massive and not of this world. Admiral James Thompson stood on the roof of the United Nations building, squinting upward as the massive ship hovered above the city. Similar reports were coming in from London, Beijing, Moscow, and Delhi. 5 ships, each the size of a small town, had appeared in Earth's atmosphere without warning. "Do we have any contact?" Thompson asked, pressing the communicator in his ear. His aide, Lieutenant Baker, shook his head. "Nothing, sir. We've tried all frequencies. They're not responding." Thompson frowned. Humanity had long prepared for this moment, first contact with alien life. But no one expected it to happen like this, with massive warships appearing unannounced. "Over major cities, keep trying," he ordered, "and get me a direct line to the president." In the control room 12 floors below, Dr. Anna Wilson worked frantically to analyze the strange energy readings coming from the alien vessels. She had spent her life searching for signs of extraterrestrial intelligence, but now that they were here, a sense of dread filled her stomach. "These readings don't make sense," she muttered to her team. "They're building up power, but for what?" She got her answer 3 minutes later. The first beam struck the center of Central Park, vaporizing everything within a half-mile radius. The blast wave shattered windows across Manhattan, sending deadly glass shards flying through crowded streets. Before anyone could process what had happened, a second beam hit the financial district. Similar attacks began in every city with an alien ship hovering above it. No warning, no demands, just destruction. "This is not first contact," Thompson said grimly as he watched the devastation unfold on monitors. "This is an invasion." Within the first hour, over 2 million people died worldwide. Military forces scrambled to respond, but conventional weapons seemed useless against the alien ship's advanced shielding technology. In the Pentagon's Emergency Command Center, General Frank Morris slammed his fist on the table. "We need to hit them with everything we've got, nuclear options included." "That would kill millions of our own people," the Secretary of Defense argued. "They're already killing millions," Morris shot back. "And they won't stop until we show them. We can fight back." The president gave the order. Despite the terrible cost, humanity would not surrender without a fight. What happened next surprised everyone, especially the aliens. Major Marcus Reed led the first successful counterattack from Edwards Air Force Base in California. Instead of targeting the alien ship directly, Reed noticed a pattern in their attack sequence. There was a 3-second vulnerability in their shields when they fired their main weapon. "All squadrons, target point Alpha 7 when I give the mark," Reed ordered his pilots. "Wait for them to charge their weapon. Hit them precisely when they fire." 20 fighter jets waited in position. When the alien ship began its next attack run, they struck simultaneously at the exact moment of shield weakness. The explosion wasn't large, but it damaged one of the ship's engines. Black smoke poured from the wound as the massive vessel tilted awkwardly in the sky. "It worked," someone shouted over the comm channel. Reed remained focused. "Again, same target. Don't get cocky." The second strike hit harder. The alien ship began to lose altitude, crashing into the empty desert miles from any population center. Similar tactics were quickly shared with military forces worldwide. By the end of the first day, humanity had managed to bring down 3 of the 5 alien ships. The cost was tremendous. Nearly 15 million dead, major cities in ruins, and the environment damaged by both alien weapons and the desperate nuclear strikes that followed. But something unexpected happened. The remaining 2 alien ships retreated to high orbit, apparently shocked by Earth's resistance. "They didn't expect us to fight back effectively," Dr. Wilson observed as she studied readings from the damaged alien ship in the California desert. "They thought this would be easy." While the world began to assess the damage, a small alien craft detached from one of the remaining ships. It descended rapidly, landing near the research facility where Wilson and her team had gathered. Before anyone could react, a squad of tall, gray-skinned beings emerged and grabbed Major Reed, who had been inspecting the crash site. They disappeared back into their craft, which shot into the sky before fighter jets could respond. "They took him," Lieutenant Baker reported to Admiral Thompson. They took Reed. Thompson's face hardened. Then they're not just invaders. They're kidnappers too. In the weeks that followed, humanity began to rebuild while preparing for the aliens to return. Every nation set aside their differences, pooling resources and knowledge to develop new weapons and defenses. The crashed alien ships provided valuable technology that scientists like Dr. Wilson worked day and night to understand. 3 months after what became known as the First Wave, a discovery changed everything. In a secure underground lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, Wilson managed to activate a communication device from one of the alien ships. "It's some kind of recording," she told Admiral Thompson as they watched holographic images of the aliens speaking in their strange, clicking language. "I think it's their mission briefing before they attacked Earth." Though they couldn't understand the words, the images showed maps of Earth with certain regions highlighted, mostly areas rich in rare minerals and water. They didn't come here for conquest, Wilson realized. They came here for resources. We're just in their way. Thompson nodded grimly. Then we need to make sure we're too much trouble to be worth it when they come back. And they would come back. Everyone knew that. The question was how much time humans had to prepare. In orbit around Mars, hidden from Earth's detection, Major Marcus Reed awoke in a small cell aboard the alien mothership. His captors studied him daily, astonished by human resilience and adaptability. What they didn't realize was that Reed studied them too, memorizing their language, technology, and weaknesses. "You primitive species surprised us," the alien commander told him through a crude translation device. "But the Crescent Alliance has conquered hundreds of worlds. Your resistance is temporary." Reed didn't respond, but inwardly he smiled. These aliens had made a critical mistake. They had judged humanity by its technology, not by its spirit, and they had taken him alive instead of killing him, giving him the chance to learn about them. One day, he promised himself, he would escape. He would return to Earth with knowledge that might save his species. Because if there was one thing he had learned about these aliens, it was that they always finished what they started. Earth had won the first battle, but the war was just beginning. 5 years passed since the first wave attack. Earth had changed dramatically. Where once stood hundreds of nations with their own agendas and armies, now stood a united planet under the Earth Defense Coalition. Old enemies worked together. Borders became less important and humanity focused on a single goal: survival. Admiral Thompson stood at the window of the new Global Defense Headquarters built into Mount Everest. The facility had been designed to withstand any attack from above. Through the reinforced glass, he could see the massive construction projects that dotted the Himalayan range: weapon platforms, shield generators, and research facilities. "Admiral, you need to see this," Lieutenant Baker said, interrupting his thoughts. Now a full commander, Baker had become Thompson's right hand in the years since the attack. Thompson followed him to the central command room where Dr. Anna Wilson waited. Her hair had more gray now, and permanent dark circles rested under her eyes, the result of working almost nonstop for 5 years. "I've done it," she said, unable to hide her excitement. "I've cracked their language." She activated a holographic display showing strange symbols that shifted and changed. The alien language, what we now know is called Crescent Standard, works on 3 levels simultaneously. It's not just sound, but also light patterns and electromagnetic signals. That's why our initial translation attempts failed. Thompson studied the display. "Can we communicate with them now?" "Better than that," Wilson replied. "I can translate everything we recovered from their ships, including their databases, tactical information, and military communications." Baker whistled. "That's a game changer." "There's more," Wilson continued. "We received a transmission from Mars orbit an hour ago. It was weak, encoded in their language, but with a human pattern." She looked up at Thompson with hope in her eyes. "It's Reed. He's alive, and he's coming home." 3 days later, Thompson stood in a secure hangar beneath the Rocky Mountains. A small alien craft had been detected entering Earth's atmosphere, evading detection until the last possible moment using technology far beyond human capabilities. It had transmitted a single message in the alien's language: "Friendly. Reed returning. Do not shoot." The craft landed smoothly. Its door opened with a hiss, and out stepped a man who barely resembled the Major Marcus Reed who had been taken 5 years ago. He was thinner, his hair completely gray despite being only 38 years old. Strange metallic implants were visible at his temples and along his left arm. "Admiral," Reed said, his voice hoarse from disuse. "Permission to return to duty." Thompson stepped forward and embraced the man, protocol forgotten. "Welcome home, son." After medical examinations confirmed Reed was indeed human and not carrying any alien bioweapons or tracking devices, he met with Earth's Leadership Council. The story he told changed their understanding of the threat they faced. "They call themselves the Crescent Alliance," Reed explained, pointing to a holographic map of the galaxy. "They control about 30% of our galaxy, mostly in this spiral arm. They're not a single species, but a coalition of 8 different alien races united under a central government." Wilson leaned forward. "And their interest in Earth?" "Resources, primarily. Our planet has an unusually high concentration of rare elements they need for their technology. But there's more to it." Reed's face darkened. "In their culture, expanding territories is how they measure success. They're constantly looking for new worlds to claim." "Did they know we were here, that Earth was inhabited?" asked General Morris. Reed nodded. "They knew. They just didn't care. In their hierarchy of species, we ranked as primitives, barely more advanced than animals. Not worth negotiating with." He touched one of the implants at his temple. "They put these in me to study how humans think. They were shocked by how quickly I adapted, how fast I learned their language and technology." "What happened during your captivity?" Thompson asked gently. Reed's eyes showed a flash of pain before he continued. "I was kept on their command ship orbiting Mars. They thought they'd broken me, turned me into a cooperative test subject. I played along, gaining their trust while learning everything I could. When they finally let me work as a maintenance technician, I spent months planning my escape." He pulled a small data crystal from his pocket. "I stole this before I left. It contains technical specifications for their most advanced weapons, shield systems, and faster-than-light travel technology. With this, we might have a chance when they return." "When will that be?" Thompson asked the question everyone feared. 5 years, maybe less," Reed answered grimly. "They're assembling a much larger force. The next attack won't be 5 ships. It will be hundreds." The next day, Reed stood with Dr. Wilson in her laboratory as they connected the alien data crystal to Earth's most advanced computer system. "We've made progress with their technology," Wilson explained as information began flooding the screens around them. "We've reversed engineered their shield systems and energy weapons, but their faster-than-light drive has been beyond our understanding." Reed pointed to one of the schematics appearing on screen. "This is what you need. Their FTL drive works by creating a quantum bubble that exists partially outside normal spacetime. It doesn't move the ship through space. It moves space around the ship." Wilson stared at the equations with wonder. "This changes everything. With this technology, we could build our own starships." "We'll need them," Reed said, "because there's something else I learned during my captivity. Earth isn't alone in being targeted by the Crescent Alliance. There are dozens of other worlds facing the same threat, some fighting back, others already conquered." Over the following months, Reed worked closely with scientists and military leaders, sharing everything he had learned. Earth's defense platforms were upgraded with more powerful weapons. A prototype gravity cannon was built that could theoretically tear apart an alien ship from the inside. And deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, engineers began construction on humanity's first faster-than-light capable vessel. During this time, Reed frequently found himself working alongside Dr. Wilson. Despite the constant pressure and looming threat, they developed a close friendship. She was one of the few people who didn't treat him differently because of his implants or his time with the aliens. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm still human," Reed admitted to her one night as they worked late in the lab. "They changed parts of me, I think, in their language sometimes." Wilson placed her hand on his. "You're human where it counts, Marcus. You came back to help us. That took courage no alien could understand. They underestimate us, Reed said. That's their weakness. They think in terms of technology levels and resources. They don't understand human determination or creativity. Wilson smiled. Then we'll show them. 6 months before the estimated return of the Crescent Alliance, Earth completed its orbital defense grid, a network of 300 platforms armed with gravity weapons, energy cannons, and missile systems. The first human starship, named Defiance, was ready for its test flight. And deep in secure facilities around the world, thousands of soldiers trained with new weapons designed to fight the aliens on the ground if necessary. Admiral Thompson stood with Reed on the observation deck of the lunar base, looking back at Earth. From here, the planet seemed peaceful, its blue oceans and white clouds showing no sign of the frantic preparations below. "Do you think we have a chance?" Thompson asked. Reed considered the question carefully. "They're coming back with more ships, more advanced weapons. By all logical calculations, we should lose." He turned to face the Admiral. "But they don't understand what they created when they attacked us. They united humanity in a way nothing else could have, and they gave us time to prepare. Time you helped us use wisely," Thompson said. Reed nodded toward Earth. "We're no longer the primitives they attacked 5 years ago. We've learned their language, their technology, their weaknesses, and most importantly," Reed's eyes hardened with determination, "we've learned that they can bleed." As if answering his words, a distant flash appeared near Mars. The early warning system immediately blared an alarm throughout the base. The second wave had arrived. The alarm echoed through the lunar base as Reed and Admiral Thompson rushed to the command center. Massive holographic displays showed the approaching alien fleet. Not 5 ships as before, but over 200 vessels of various sizes surrounding. A central command ship 3 times larger than anything seen in the first wave. "They're not wasting time," Thompson said, watching as the fleet accelerated toward Earth. "All defense stations, this is Admiral Thompson. Battle positions, this is not a drill." Across Earth's orbit, the 300 defense platforms powered up their weapons. On the ground, civilians moved into underground shelters built during the 5-year preparation period. Military forces took their positions at key strategic locations. Reed studied the approaching formation with experienced eyes. They're using standard Crescent Alliance attack pattern. The smaller ships will form a protective screen while the larger vessels position for planetary bombardment. "Just like you predicted?" Thompson nodded. "Let's hope our countermeasures work as well." Dr. Wilson joined them, bringing up additional tactical displays. "The gravity weapons are charged and ready. Remember, we only get one surprise." Thompson turned to the communications officer. "Patch me through to all Earth forces." When the connection was established, his voice rang out to every soldier, pilot, and civilian worker involved in Earth's defense. 5 years ago, they came to our world believing we were easy prey. They killed millions before we drove them away. Today, they return thinking their numbers will make a difference. They're wrong. We have studied them. We have prepared for them. We know their weaknesses. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity will never be victims again. Stand firm, fight smart, protect our home. The alien fleet entered lunar orbit, exactly as Reed had predicted they would, using Earth's moon to shield their approach. They didn't expect what happened next. "Now," Thompson ordered. Concealed beneath the lunar surface, 50 gravity cannons activated simultaneously. These weapons, based on alien technology but refined by human ingenuity, didn't fire energy or projectiles. Instead, they created localized distortions in gravitational fields. The effect was devastating. 20 alien ships at the front of the formation were caught in suddenly warping gravity wells. Metal hulls crumpled like paper as gravitational forces thousands of times normal pulled in conflicting directions. Ships collided with each other, their own engines tearing them apart as they fought against the impossible forces. For a moment, silence filled the command center as everyone watched the destruction unfold. Then a cheer erupted. "They're breaking formation," Reed observed. "They didn't expect us to have this technology." The remaining alien fleet scattered, then regrouped, adjusting their approach to avoid the lunar gravity weapons. As they neared Earth, they faced the full orbital defense grid. All platforms engage at will, Thompson ordered. Space lit up with energy beams, missile contrails, and explosions as Earth's defenses met the alien attack head-on. The Crescent Alliance had superior numbers, but Earth had the advantage of fighting, from prepared positions with weapons specifically designed to counter alien technology. On the main display, Reed watched as alien ships tried to penetrate the defense grid. "They're adapting quickly," he warned. "Their flagship is coordinating new attack patterns." "Can we target their command ship?" Thompson asked. Wilson shook her head. "It's staying behind the main fleet, protected by their strongest shields." "Then, we stick to the plan," Thompson decided. "Defense grid, maintain position. Defiance, you are cleared to launch." From a hidden base beneath the Pacific Ocean, Earth's first starship rose. Unlike the massive alien vessels, Defiance was small and sleek, designed for speed and stealth rather than overwhelming firepower. Its mission wasn't to engage the fleet directly, but to target the one weakness Reed had discovered during his captivity. Captain Laura Miller guided Defiance through the chaos of battle, using the ship's advanced stealth systems to avoid detection. "Approaching position," she reported, "ready to execute Phase 2. While the aliens focused on breaking through Earth's orbital defenses, they failed to notice the small human ship slipping past their formation. Defiance approached the massive flagship from below, targeting a specific section Reed had identified, the central communication array that coordinated the entire fleet. "We're in position," Miller reported. "Deploying payload," Defiance released. Dozens of small drones that attached themselves to the flagship's hull. These weren't weapons, but specialized signal disruptors designed to infiltrate the alien communication systems. In the Lunar Command Center, Wilson monitored the operation. "Disruptors online. Initiating signal override. Now." For 3 critical seconds, the alien fleet lost all communication with their command ship. In those seconds, Earth's defense grid concentrated all firepower on specific weak points in the alien formation. 30 more enemy ships were destroyed or disabled before they could reorganize. "It's working," Thompson exclaimed. "Their coordination is failing." But the Crescent Alliance wasn't defeated so easily. The flagship quickly adapted, switching to backup communication systems. The remaining ships, still over 100 strong, regrouped and pressed their attack with renewed determination. "They're breaking through in Sector 7, a tactical officer reported as several alien ships slipped past damaged defense platforms. Reed studied the tactical display. "They're heading for the Australian defense complex. That's where we're manufacturing the gravity weapons." Thompson made a quick decision. "Ground forces, prepare for invasion. All available air support to Australian sector." The battle shifted to Earth's surface as 5 alien landing craft descended through the atmosphere. They landed in the Red Desert of Central Australia, deploying ground forces to attack the heavily fortified human facility. General Morris commanded the ground defense from a bunker beneath the complex. "All units engage according to training protocols. Remember, these aren't invincible gods, they're aliens who can die just like anyone else." The fighting was intense. Alien soldiers used advanced energy weapons and power armor, but humans had spent years preparing for this exact scenario. Soldiers equipped with reverse-engineered alien technology held defensive positions around the facility, while armored vehicles counterattacked from hidden bunkers. What surprised the aliens most wasn't the human technology, but their adaptability. When energy shields blocked direct attacks, human forces used the environment against them, collapsing cliff faces onto alien positions and deploying specialized electromagnetic pulses that disrupted their armor systems. In orbit, the battle continued. Earth's defense grid was taking heavy damage, but inflicting significant losses on the alien fleet. Defiance continued its hit-and-run attacks, targeting enemy communications and sensors. 5 hours into the battle, the tide began to turn. The alien fleet, having lost nearly half its ships, altered its strategy. A single large vessel broke through the weakened defenses and positioned itself above the Australian complex. "They're preparing to fire their main weapon," Reed warned, recognizing the energy signature. "If that hits the facility, All our ground forces will be lost. Thompson faced an impossible choice. Divert orbital defenses to protect Australia, leaving other regions vulnerable, or sacrifice the complex and everyone defending it. Before he could decide, Captain Miller's voice came through the comm system. Defiance moving to intercept. We have one gravity torpedo remaining. Miller, that's too close, Thompson protested. Your ship won't survive the blast radius. Neither will theirs, Miller replied calmly. It's been an honor, Admiral. Defiance accelerated directly toward the alien vessel, dodging defensive fire as it closed the distance. At the last possible moment, it fired its final weapon, a concentrated gravity weapon similar to the lunar cannons but miniaturized at great cost. The explosion created a temporary black hole that consumed both Defiance and the alien ship. The gravitational shockwave damaged several nearby alien vessels, creating chaos in their formation. On the ground, General Morris seized the opportunity. All units, full advance. They're disorganized. Human forces pushed forward, targeting the alien command units. In the confusion, a special forces team led by Colonel West penetrated the main alien landing craft. Their objective wasn't to destroy it, but to capture the alien commander alive. After fierce fighting, they succeeded. General Krell of the Crescent Alliance, the architect of both attacks on Earth, was secured and evacuated as his forces began a disorganized retreat. In orbit, the remaining alien ships withdrew, jumping to faster-than-light speed when they cleared Earth's gravity well. Within hours, the second wave attack was over. Earth had survived again, but at great cost. 17 defense platforms destroyed, thousands of soldiers killed, and the brave crew of Defiance lost. In the Lunar Command Center, Admiral Thompson, Reed, and Dr. Wilson gathered around a holographic display showing the aftermath of the battle. Debris from destroyed ships orbited Earth like a new ring of artificial asteroids. We won, Thompson said quietly, but they'll be back with an even larger force unless we do something to end this permanently. Reed nodded, his expression grim but determined. That's why we need to interrogate General Krell, and then we need to take the fight to them. Wilson looked up in surprise. You're suggesting we attack the Crescent Alliance? No, Reed said. I'm suggesting we send a message the entire galaxy will understand. One that ensures no one will ever attack Earth again. General Krell of the Crescent Alliance sat motionless in the interrogation chamber. His gray skin had a sickly blue tint under the bright lights, and the 4 arms typical of his species were restrained to the specially designed chair. Despite his captivity, his posture remained proud, almost arrogant. Across from him, Marcus Reed studied the alien commander who had orchestrated 2 attacks on Earth. Reed's implants glowed faintly as he prepared to speak in the alien's native language. You have lost, General, Reed said, the words coming out in the clicking, multi-toned language of the Crescent Alliance. Your fleet is destroyed or scattered. Your ground forces eliminated. You are our prisoner. Krell's vertical pupils narrowed. This changes nothing. The Alliance controls thousands of worlds. We have millions of ships. This defeat is temporary. Then why did you come yourself? Reed asked. Why lead this attack personally? For the first time, the alien showed hesitation. The High Command required direct oversight after the first failure. Reed leaned forward. You mean they blamed you for underestimating us the first time, and you had to redeem yourself? The general didn't respond, but the darkening of his skin confirmed Reed's guess. We know about the resource deposits, Reed continued. The rare elements in Earth's crust that your alliance needs. But there's more to this, isn't there? Something you're not telling us. Admiral Thompson and Dr. Wilson watched the interrogation from behind a one-way glass window. He's good, Thompson remarked. The implants help him read their physiological responses. Wilson nodded. It's more than that. Reed thinks like them now, understands their culture and hierarchy. He knows exactly which buttons to push. Inside the chamber, Krell finally spoke again. Your world is uniquely positioned. The space around your solar system creates a natural faster-than-light pathway. Control of this region would reduce travel times across 1/4 of the galaxy. A strategic location. Reed translated for the benefit of the humans monitoring the conversation. You are primitives sitting on valuable territory, Krell said dismissively. The natural order is for advanced civilizations to claim such resources. Reed smiled thinly. Yet twice now these primitives have defeated your forces. It changes nothing. Krell's voice rose, the translator rendering his agitation clearly. The Alliance will send another fleet, larger than before, and another after that. We do not stop until we claim what we want. Unless the cost becomes too high, Reed suggested. Krell made a sound that the translator interpreted as laughter. What cost could primitives like you possibly impose that would deter the mighty Crescent Alliance? Reed stood. That's what we're going to show you. 3 days later, in a secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Earth's Leadership Council gathered to hear Reed's proposal. The room was tense as he outlined his plan. The Crescent Alliance respects only one thing: power, Reed explained. As long as they believe they can eventually wear us down, they'll keep coming. We need to demonstrate that attacking Earth comes with consequences no civilization can afford. Dr. Wilson brought up a holographic display of the galaxy, highlighting a specific star system. This is Krell's home system containing the Alliance's central government world, Crescia Prime. You're suggesting we attack their home world? General Morris asked, leaning forward with interest. Not exactly, Reed said. What I'm proposing is more decisive. He nodded to Wilson, who zoomed the display in on the system's star, a stable, yellow sun similar to Earth's. Using the data we've gathered and the technology we've developed, we can construct a device that can destabilize a star's fusion process, Reed explained. Not enough to cause a supernova, but enough to create a massive solar flare that would disable all technology in the system for several days. Admiral Thompson's expression was grave. You're talking about a weapon that could hold an entire civilization. Hostage. I'm talking about a deterrent, Reed corrected. We don't use it unless provoked again, but we demonstrate that we could. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. There's more, Reed continued. While their systems are down, we broadcast our message to every world in the galaxy. We make it clear that Earth will defend itself, and any further aggression will be met with devastating consequences. President Howard, who had led the Earth Defense Coalition since its formation, spoke for the first time. The message being, attack again and die. Reed nodded. Exactly. After hours of debate, the council voted. The plan was approved, but with conditions. The star weapon would be built, but used only as a last resort. The primary mission would be to demonstrate Earth's new technological capabilities and deliver the warning. 2 months later, Earth launched its first interstellar fleet. 3 ships built using the knowledge gained from alien technology but distinctly human in design, prepared to make the jump to faster-than-light travel. Named Retribution, Justice, and Deterrent, they represented humanity's entry onto the galactic stage. Admiral Thompson commanded from Retribution, with Reed serving as his executive officer and cultural advisor. Dr. Wilson joined them, bringing her scientific expertise and a deep understanding of the alien technology they had adapted. As the ships prepared to depart, Thompson addressed the crews. We go not as conquerors, but as messengers. Earth has been attacked twice without provocation. We will not allow a third attack. Today we take our place among the stars not by asking permission, but by demanding respect. The journey to the Crescent Alliance homeworld took 3 weeks, even at faster-than-light speeds. During that time, General Krell remained in a secure holding cell aboard Retribution. Reed visited him daily, extracting more information about Alliance defenses and political structures. They won't believe you're capable of what you claim, Krell warned during one such session. No species develops star-destabilizing technology so quickly. That's why we're bringing you along, Reed replied. You'll verify our capabilities. Krell's skin darkened with what Reed recognized as fear. If I do this, my name will be marked as a traitor for all time. Better a living traitor than a dead hero, Reed said. using an old Alliance proverb that made the general's eyes widen in surprise. When the Earth fleet arrived at the edge of the Crescent system, they were immediately detected by Alliance monitoring stations. Within hours, they were surrounded by defensive ships, hundreds of them forming a blockade around the human vessels. "They're hailing us," the communications officer reported. Thompson nodded to Reed, who stepped forward. On screen, the face that appeared belonged to a different alien species than Krell, this one with ridged skin and multiple eye stalks. "Unidentified vessels, you have entered Crescent Alliance sovereign space. Identify yourselves or be destroyed," Reed responded in perfect Alliance standard language. "This is Marcus Reed of Earth speaking for humanity. We bring your General Krell and a message for your high command." The alien's eye stalks twitched in surprise at hearing a human speak their language so fluently. After a brief conversation off-screen, the alien returned. "You will be escorted to a holding position. Attempts to move from this designated area will be met with immediate destruction." When the transmission ended, Thompson turned to Reed. "They're stalling while they bring in more ships." "As expected," Reed nodded. "Prepare the demonstration device." From Deterrent's cargo bay, a small probe was launched toward the system's star. Too small to be considered a threat, it was largely ignored by the Alliance fleet focused on the human ships. "Probe in position," Wilson reported 6 hours later. "Ready for activation." Thompson looked at Reed, who gave a solemn nod. "Proceed." The probe activated, sending a precisely calibrated pulse into the star's outer layers. The effect was immediate and dramatic. A massive solar flare erupted, far larger than anything naturally occurring. Alliance ships' sensors and communications instantly overloaded from the radiation surge. In the confusion, Justice launched a series of communication satellites that positioned themselves throughout the system. When activated, they hijacked every communication frequency used by the Alliance. On every screen, on every ship, on every Alliance world within range, Reed's face appeared. Behind him stood Admiral Thompson, Dr. Wilson, and other human officers. General Krell was visible as well, alive but clearly a prisoner. "People of the Crescent Alliance and all civilizations watching," Reed began, his words automatically translated into hundreds of languages. "I speak for Earth. Twice your forces have attacked our world without provocation. Twice we have defeated them." The camera pulled back to show a view of the system's star, still visibly disturbed by the human weapon. "What you just witnessed was a demonstration of our capability, affecting only the outer layer of your star. Our full weapon could destabilize your entire sun, rendering your homeworld uninhabitable." Reed paused, letting the implications sink. "And we do not seek war, we do not seek conquest, we seek only to live in peace. But know this and spread the word to all corners of the galaxy. Earth is now and forever a sovereign world. Attack us again, and your civilization dies. This is our first, last, and only warning." Reed finished with a phrase in the formal Alliance, diplomatic language that translated roughly to, "The matter is decided. Let none question it further." As the transmission ended, the human fleet prepared for the return journey, leaving behind a stunned and frightened Alliance fleet that made no move to stop them. Aboard Retribution, Thompson looked out at the stars. "Do you think they'll listen?" Reed watched as Krell was escorted back to his cell. "They understand power. We've just shown them that humanity has more of it than they thought possible." "And if they call our bluff?" Wilson asked quietly. Reed's expression was grim. "Then we prove it wasn't a bluff." As the Earth ships jumped to faster than light speed, news of what had happened spread across the galaxy at an even faster pace. Earth's message and its warning would soon reach every civilized world. Attack again and die. The line had been drawn. 6 months after Earth's fleet returned from the Crescent Alliance homeworld, the planet experienced something unprecedented in human history. Silence from the stars. No threats, no approaching fleets, no alien aggression of any kind. Just an uneasy quiet that spread across the solar system. Admiral Thompson stood in the newly constructed Earth Embassy, a massive structure built in what was once the devastated center of New York City. Through the tall windows he could see the rebuilt skyline, now featuring architecture influenced by recovered alien technology. Buildings that seemed to defy gravity, transportation tubes that glowed with energy, and defense systems disguised as artistic installations. "Any word from our monitoring stations?" Thompson asked Reed, who had just entered the room. Reed shook his head. "Nothing direct, but our long-range sensors are picking up a lot of activity at the edge of our detection range. Ships approaching, then turning away. They're curious, but afraid." Dr. Wilson joined them, bringing data tablets filled with reports. "The star-stabilizing technology is working perfectly," she said. "We've managed to help 3 threatened systems already." This had been an unexpected development. After demonstrating their ability to destabilize a star, Earth scientists had also developed the technology to do the opposite, to calm solar activity and prevent natural stellar disasters. It was a perfect balance, the power to destroy matched by the power to save. "How are the diplomatic preparations coming?" Thompson asked. Reed pulled up a holographic display showing dozens of alien species in their known territories. "We've identified 27 civilizations that have either been threatened or attacked by the Crescent Alliance. 7 have already sent encrypted messages requesting dialogue." "And the Alliance itself?" Wilson asked. "Still silent officially," Reed replied. "But according to our intelligence network, their high command is in chaos. Krell's return with our message sparked a political crisis. Half their leadership wants to gather an overwhelming force to attack us again. The other half argues it's not worth the risk." Thompson studied the galactic map thoughtfully. "They're used to being the strongest power in this sector. We've challenged that position, which is why we need to move forward with the next phase," Reed said. 1 week later, the Earth Embassy hosted its first official galactic diplomatic reception. Representatives from 12 different species arrived in ships that kept a respectful distance until given explicit permission to approach. The memory of what happened to the Alliance fleet was still fresh in everyone's mind. President Howard greeted each delegation personally, with Reed serving as translator and cultural advisor. The scene was extraordinary. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and biological compositions gathered in a human building, cautiously examining their hosts. "We welcome you to Earth," President Howard said as the formal proceedings began. "For too long our world remained isolated, unaware of the wider galactic community. Our introduction was through violence, but our path forward need not be." The translator devices converted his words into the appropriate languages for each delegation. The response from the alien representatives was a mixture of curiosity and wariness. A tall, crystalline being stepped forward. According to Reed's briefing, this was Ambassador Linar of the Vestin Collective, one of the older civilizations in the sector. "Earth has demonstrated remarkable power," Linar said, light pulsing through its crystalline form as it spoke. "The question that concerns many worlds is how you intend to use this power." President Howard nodded to Reed, who took over the response. "Earth seeks 3 things," Reed said, speaking in the formal diplomatic language he had learned during his captivity. "First, recognition of our sovereignty and our right to exist undisturbed. Second, fair access to interstellar trade and knowledge exchange. Third, the establishment of mutual defense agreements with peaceful worlds." This last point caused a stir among the gathered representatives. A delegation of small, furry beings, that Reed had identified as Morathi, conferred among themselves before their leader spoke. "The Crescent Alliance has dominated this sector for centuries," the Morathi representative said. "They have taken our outer colonies, imposed unfair trade terms, and threatened worse if we resist. What you suggest would challenge their authority." "Directly. Their authority was challenged the moment they attacked Earth and failed," Reed replied. "Twice." The room fell silent at this reminder. Ambassador Linar's crystalline form glowed brighter. "What exactly are you proposing, humans?" President Howard stepped forward again. "A new alliance. Not one based on conquest and subjugation like the Crescent Alliance, but one founded on mutual respect and protection. Any world that wishes to join will receive Earth's guarantee of defense against aggression." "With what fleet?" asked another representative. You have demonstrated impressive technology, but the Alliance has thousands of warships. Admiral Thompson activated a holographic display showing Earth's orbital shipyards. Dozens of vessels were under construction, each incorporating the best of human innovation and adapted alien technology. We're building, Thompson said simply, and we learn quickly. 2 years passed. Earth's diplomatic initiative, which became known as the Terran Protective Coalition, grew to include 37 worlds. Each member contributed resources, knowledge, and in some cases military assets to the common defense. In return, they received Earth's protection and access to human innovations, particularly medical and agricultural technologies that human scientists had rapidly developed by studying alien biology. Marcus Reed became Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, a neutral forum where all spacefaring civilizations could present grievances and negotiate agreements. His unique understanding of both human and alien perspectives made him ideally suited for the role. On his first appearance before the Council, Reed faced representatives from over 200 worlds, including, finally, a delegation from the HFY Crescent Alliance. Earth was unknown to us until recently, Reed began, his voice carrying through the vast chamber. We did not ask to be thrust onto the galactic stage. We did not seek conflict with the Crescent Alliance or any civilization. The Alliance representatives shifted uncomfortably as Reed continued. But when attacked, we defended ourselves. When threatened with extinction, we responded with determination. And now that we understand our place in this galaxy, we offer a simple choice to all worlds: peaceful coexistence or mutual assured destruction. A murmur ran through the assembled representatives. The Terran Protective Coalition is not an empire. We do not seek to conquer or control. We ask only for respect, for ourselves and for all sentient beings who wish to live free from domination. The head of the Crescent Alliance delegation, a tall figure from the same species as General Krell, rose to respond. The Alliance acknowledges the unusual capabilities Earth has demonstrated, the representative said, choosing words carefully. We propose a formal treaty establishing boundaries and non-aggression pacts. Reed smiled slightly. We accept, under one condition: the Alliance must release all worlds currently under its control that wish independence. The Alliance representative's skin darkened with anger. That is unacceptable. Those worlds are Alliance territory by right of conquest, Reed interrupted. Those days are over. The galaxy is changing. Adapt or be left behind. The debate raged for days, but eventually a compromise was reached. The Alliance would grant greater autonomy to its subject worlds and cease expansion through military means. In return, Earth would share certain non-military technologies and establish formal diplomatic relations. It wasn't perfect, but it was a beginning. 5 years after the second wave attack, Admiral Thompson stood on the observation deck of Earth's newest vessel, the Peacekeeper. At 2 kilometers long, it was the largest ship humans had ever built. Not primarily a warship, but an exploration vessel designed to carry Earth's scientists, diplomats, and cultural representatives into the deepest reaches of the galaxy. Beside him stood Dr. Wilson, now director of the Interspecies Scientific Exchange, and Reed, returned briefly from his diplomatic duties. It's hard to believe how far we've come, Wilson said, watching Earth grow smaller as the ship prepared for its maiden voyage. From nearly being conquered to becoming a major galactic power in just a few years. We had good teachers, Reed said with irony. The Alliance showed us exactly what not to do with power: conquer, subjugate, destroy. Thompson nodded. Instead, we protect, collaborate, and explore. A communication came through, and Reed's attention was drawn to a message on his personal device. The Council vote just finished, he announced. The Galactic Non-Aggression Pact has been ratified by all major powers, including the Crescent Alliance. The 3 humans stood in silence, absorbing the significance of the moment. So it worked, Thompson said finally. Our warning. Attack. Again and die, Reed quoted. Simple, direct, Effective. But ultimately, it wasn't just the threat that changed things, Wilson observed. It was what we did after. Offering protection to weaker worlds, sharing technology, building something better than what existed before. As the Peacekeeper prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed, Reed looked out at the stars spreading before them. The Alliance thought they found primitives sitting on valuable territory, he said. Instead, they found the one thing the galaxy needed most. A civilization that understood the true cost of war but still believed in peace. Thompson smiled. So, what's next for humanity, Ambassador Reed? Reed gestured at the endless expanse of stars. Exploration, discovery, the kind of adventure humans have always dreamed about. His expression turned serious. But we'll never forget the lesson we learned. Sometimes peace must be protected with strength. The Peacekeeper's engines hummed as it prepared to jump. Earth remains ready, Thompson said quietly. Our warning still stands, but I hope we never have to prove it again. The ship leapt into faster-than-light travel, carrying humanity's representatives, deeper into the galaxy than they had ever gone before, not as conquerors but as protectors and explorers. Behind them, Earth stood secure, a beacon of both warning and hope to the stars. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Earth would defend itself and its allies without hesitation or mercy if attacked. But it would also extend friendship and protection to those who sought peaceful cooperation. Attack again and die. A simple message that had changed the course of galactic history and humanity's destiny among the stars. The massive Council space station hung like a gleaming jewel against the velvet black of space. Its spiral arms stretched for miles, housing representatives from the 12 most powerful species in the known galaxy. Lights twinkled across its surface, marking the countless windows and docking bays where ships from 100 worlds came and went. Among them, looking small and almost primitive by comparison, was the human diplomatic vessel Horizon. The ship had traveled for 3 months to reach this point, carrying Earth's hopes for a new era of interstellar relations. Admiral James Reed stood at the viewport, hands clasped behind his back, watching as the station grew larger. At 53, Reed had the weathered face of someone who had seen much in his years of service. His gray-streaked hair was cut short in military fashion, and his blue uniform bore the minimal decorations he allowed himself to wear for this historic occasion. "Quite the sight, isn't it?" said a voice beside him. Reed turned to find Anna Ellis, Earth's chief diplomat, joining him at the viewport. Where Reed was all military precision, Ellis moved with the practiced grace of someone accustomed to navigating delicate social situations. Her dark skin contrasted with the simple white diplomatic uniform that all Earth representatives wore for this mission. "It is," Reed agreed. "Though I can't help but notice our docking assignment." Ellis followed his gaze to where their ship was being directed, far from the central hub in what appeared to be a maintenance sector. "First impressions," she said with a tight smile. "We knew this wouldn't be easy." Reed nodded. Humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel only 30 years ago, at least as far as the galaxy knew. In that time, they had established colonies on 3 nearby star systems and made contact with various alien traders. But this marked their first formal introduction to the Galactic Council, the governing body that had maintained order among the stars for over 2,000 years. "The welcome committee approaches," Reed said, spotting a small craft heading toward them. 2 hours later, Reed and Ellis, along with 3 other human representatives, were being led through the station's vast corridors. Their guide, a tall, thin being with purple-tinted skin and forearms, moved quickly, barely looking back to ensure they kept pace. "The Council has graciously allocated 20 minutes for your presentation," the guide said, voice tinged with what sounded like amusement. "Grand Minister Thorne wishes me to remind you that hundreds of species apply for recognition each cycle. Your presence here is already a significant accommodation." Ellis stepped forward, matching the guide's pace. "We appreciate the Council's time. Earth hopes to establish mutually beneficial relations with all galactic species." The guide made a sound that might have been a snort. "Yes, I'm sure Earth has much to offer that 12 ancient civilizations haven't already perfected." Reed felt his jaw tighten but said nothing. They had been briefed extensively on the likelihood of such treatment. Humanity was new to the galactic stage. Condescension was expected. They entered a vast chamber where curved rows of seating rose around a central platform. Hundreds of beings of various shapes, sizes, and colors occupied these seats, with the most ornate positions at the highest point. There, 12 grand chairs held what must be the senior council representatives. "The human delegation may approach," announced a booming voice. As they walked to the central platform, Reed became acutely aware of the sounds rippling through the chamber. Laughter, whispers, the unmistakable sounds of amusement. Grand Minister Thorn was immediately recognizable, at the center of the 12, tall, with skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light and eyes that held the wisdom and arrogance of centuries. The being wore elaborate robes covered in symbols that probably denoted countless honors. "Earth," Thorn said, voice echoing through the chamber. "The third planet of an unremarkable yellow star at the edge of the Orion Arm. Home to humans, a bipedal, short-lived species that has recently stumbled upon the principles of faster-than-light travel." More laughter followed these words. Ellis stepped forward. "Grand Minister, esteemed council members, we come in peace and friendship, seeking to join the galactic community as contributors and allies." "Contributors?" came a voice from one of the 12, a being with features resembling an Earth reptile. "Your species has barely mastered basic interstellar flight. Your longest colony is less than 20 light-years from your homeworld. What could you possibly contribute?" Reed watched as Ellis maintained her diplomatic smile despite the open mockery. "Earth has unique perspectives and technologies that—" "Technologies?" interrupted another council member. This one appeared almost gaseous, contained within what looked like a floating environmental suit. "Our observers report your vessels still use reaction thrusters for sublight maneuvering. Most advanced species abandoned such inefficient methods millennia ago," Reed finally spoke up. "Different paths of development often lead to unique solutions. Earth's isolation has fostered innovation in unexpected areas." This statement was met with what could only be described as the alien equivalent of eye-rolling. "Grand." Minister Thorn raised a hand for silence. "Let us proceed with formalities. The human delegation may present their case for recognition." Ellis activated a small holographic projector, displaying images of Earth and its colonies. As she began her carefully prepared presentation, Reed noticed many council members turning to their neighbors, making gestures that seemed dismissive or amused. Halfway through Ellis's explanation of Earth's proposal for trade routes, Thorn interrupted. "Let us be direct," the Grand Minister said. "Your species is young, your territory minimal, your technology primitive. The Council is willing to grant Earth provisional status as a protectorate." "Protectorate?" Reed questioned, feeling a chill. "Yes. You would benefit from our guidance and protection. In exchange, the Council would establish oversight of your colonies and resource development. A modest tribute of 30% of your world's mineral and biological resources would be required, of course." Ellis maintained her composure, though Reed could see the tension in her shoulders. "With respect, Grand Minister, Earth seeks recognition. As an independent member, not a protectorate." Laughter erupted again, louder this time. "Ambitious for such a young species," commented one of the 12. This one with multiple eye stalks that swiveled independently. Thorn made a gesture that silenced the chamber. "There is another matter. Our intelligence suggests your military leaders speak of some ancient threat lurking in dark space. You come before us with warnings as well as requests, do you not?" Reed stepped forward. "Our deep space observers have detected unusual energy signatures beyond the galactic rim, patterns that suggest—" "Superstition and paranoia," interrupted Thorn. "Common among species new to the stars. The galaxy has been mapped and monitored by the Council for thousands of years. There are no hidden threats lurking in the void." More laughter followed, and Reed felt his patience wearing thin. "We simply suggest that combined investigation would benefit—" "Enough," Thorn said, raising a hand. "The Council has heard sufficient. You will be provided with the terms of protectorate status. Your delegation has 3 standard days to accept, or reject our generous offer. As they were escorted from the chamber, Ellis maintained perfect diplomatic posture until they reached the privacy of their assigned quarters. "Well," she said finally, "that went about as expected." Reed moved to the communications terminal. "I need to contact Earth immediately." "They're probably monitoring everything we say," Ellis warned. "I'm counting on it," Reed replied, entering his security codes. "It's time Earth showed its hand." Ellis watched him, understanding dawning on her face. "You think it's time for Operation Sunburst?" Reed's expression was grim. "They're not just mocking us, Anna. Did you notice how quickly they dismissed our warnings? How eager they are to establish oversight of our worlds. You think they know something? I think they see us as the next easy target." Reed finished entering his access codes. "President Wells needs to know what we're dealing with. The Council isn't looking for allies, they're looking for subjects." As the secure channel established, Reed looked out at the glittering expanse of the station, where countless alien representatives continued their business, likely already forgetting the amusing humans and their quaint presentation. "They're laughing at us now," he said quietly. "Let's see how long that lasts." The Situation Room deep beneath the Rocky Mountains was silent as the encrypted transmission from Admiral Reed played. The room held 12 people, Earth Security Council, who watched with grim expressions as Reed described the meeting with the Galactic Council. When the transmission ended, President Wells stood up. Unlike most politicians of past eras, Wells was a former military commander who had led Earth's first interstellar mission. Gray hair framed a face marked by both wisdom and determination. "So," Wells said, "they laughed at us just as we expected." General Marcus Stone, head of Earth's Defense Forces, nodded. "And they want 30% of our resources as tribute. Classic extortion disguised as protection." Dr. Keller, the Council's science advisor, pulled up a holographic display. "More concerning is their dismissal of our warnings about the dark space anomalies. Either they're hiding something, or they genuinely don't know." "My bet is they know," said Stone. "The question is, do we reveal our true capabilities now?" President Wells walked slowly around the table. "For over a century, we've hidden our advances. Since the first alien probe was discovered in Antarctica in 2089, Earth has presented itself as less developed than we truly are." The display changed to show the solar system. Scattered throughout were thousands of small dots, each representing a component of humanity's secret. "The supernova fleet," Wells said quietly. 10,000 warships hidden throughout our system. Another 5,000 in our colony systems. All invisible to even the most advanced scanning technology we've encountered. Stone stepped up to the display. "Our intelligence agents embedded in alien trading posts have confirmed that the Council's behavior toward us matches their historical pattern. They identify resource-rich worlds with developing species, offer protection, then gradually increase demands until the species is effectively enslaved. Or worse," added Dr. Keller. "We've tracked several cases where planets accepted protectorate status, only to suffer mysterious natural disasters a few decades later, when they began showing signs of advancement that might challenge Council authority." President Wells returned to the head of the table. "Admiral Reed has requested activation of Operation Sunburst. Opinions?" The room erupted in discussion. Some argued for patience, for gathering more intelligence. Others insisted immediate action was necessary. "The Council is already preparing," said Stone, cutting through the debate. "Our deep space sensors detected a fleet assembling near the Arcturus relay point. Over 50 warships, officially listed, as a diplomatic escort but armed for combat." Silence fell across the room. "How long until they reach Sol?" asked Wells. 10 days at standard FTL speeds," replied Stone. Wells looked at each person in turn. "A century ago, our ancestors made a choice. When they realized Earth was not alone in the galaxy, they decided to prepare in secret. They built ships and hid them. They developed technologies and concealed them. Generation after generation maintained the deception, knowing someday we would need every advantage we could get." The president's eyes hardened. "I think That day has come. Back on the council station, Ellis walked carefully through the busy market district. She had been granted limited access to public areas, a supposed courtesy that felt more like an opportunity for various alien species to stare at the primitive human. She had nearly reached her destination when someone bumped into her. "Apologies," said a voice, soft and melodic. Ellis looked up to see a humanoid figure with pale blue skin and large, gentle eyes. The alien wore the simple gray uniform of station support staff. "No harm done," Ellis replied. The alien hesitated. "You are from Earth." "I am. My name is Anna Ellis." "I am called Marsh," the alien said, glancing around nervously. May I speak with you somewhere private?" Ellis studied the alien carefully. Her security training assessed the risk. Marsh was smaller than her, apparently, unarmed, and seemed genuinely anxious rather than threatening. "There's a viewing area this way," Ellis suggested, "usually quiet this time of station day." The viewing area was indeed empty, a small platform overlooking the vast central hub of the station. Stars were visible through the massive transparent dome above. "You should be careful," Marsh said once they were alone. "The council is not what it appears." Ellis kept her expression neutral. "What do you mean?" "I work in the historical archives. I've seen the patterns." Marsh's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. 6 times in the last 500 years, species have approached the council much as yours has. All were offered protectorate status. "And?" Ellis prompted when Marsh paused. "All accepted. All provided resources and territory. All were promised eventual full membership." Marsh's large eyes blinked rapidly. "Within 50 years, each homeworld suffered catastrophic natural disasters. Asteroid impacts, solar flares, tectonic destabilization." Ellis felt a chill despite the station's controlled temperature. "Are you suggesting the council deliberately—" "I can prove nothing," Marsh interrupted. "I can only show you the pattern. The council allows developing worlds to advance to a certain point, extracts what resources it can, then eliminates potential future rivals." "Why tell me this?" Ellis asked. "You're risking a lot." Marsh looked out at the stars. "Not all species in the galaxy agree with the council's methods. Some of us believe in true cooperation. My people, the Valens, were nearly exterminated 1,000 years ago for opposing council policies. Now we serve, watching and waiting." Ellis's communication device vibrated subtly against her wrist. A message from Reed. "Return to ship immediately. Developments from Earth." "I have to go," she said. Marsh pressed a small data chip into Ellis's hand. "Historical records. Things not found in the public archives. May they help your people avoid the fate of others." General Stone stood in the command center of Ceres Base, the largest hidden facility in the solar system. Carved into the heart of the dwarf planet, the base served as the central hub for the supernova fleet's operations. Around him, officers and technicians worked at their stations, monitoring the status of thousands of vessels throughout the system. On the main display, a red dot moved steadily toward Sol, the council's approaching fleet. "Status report," Stone ordered. Commander Hayes stepped forward. "All fleet elements report ready, sir. Stealth systems functioning at optimal levels. The enemy remains unaware of our presence." Stone nodded. "And the new intelligence from the council station?" "Admiral Reed's transmission included data from an insider source," Hayes said. "It confirms our suspicions. The council has a pattern of eliminating potential rivals after extracting resources from their worlds. So they plan to bleed us dry, then arrange an accident for Earth," Stone said grimly. "It appears so, sir." Stone studied the tactical display. Scattered throughout the solar system were thousands of green dots, each representing a vessel of the supernova fleet. Some hidden in asteroid fields, others concealed within the atmospheres of gas giants. Many more drifting in the vast emptiness of the Oort cloud, their advanced stealth systems making them invisible to standard scans. For a century, humanity had built this fleet in secret, While showing the galaxy a handful of newly developed colony ships, they had constructed an armada that could rival any in known space. "We've received the authorization code from President." "Well," said Hayes, "Operation Sunburst is a go." Stone took a deep breath. 100 years of preparation, of secrecy, of presenting a false face to the stars, all coming down to this moment. "Send the activation signal to all fleet elements," he ordered. "Begin power-up sequences but maintain stealth protocols. When the Council fleet enters the outer system boundary, we'll spring the trap." Throughout the solar system, hidden ships received their orders. Reactor cores that had lain dormant for years began to hum with energy. Weapon systems initiated. Self-checks. Crews that had trained endlessly for this day moved to battle stations. The galaxy had laughed at humanity, thinking them weak and primitive. Soon, that laughter would stop. In the darkness of space, humanity's secret weapon waited. The supernova fleet, ready to explode upon an unsuspecting galaxy. The Council escort fleet approached the edge of Sol system, with confidence bordering on arrogance. 50 warships, sleek, powerful vessels painted in the 12 colors of the dominant species, moved in perfect formation. At their center, the command ship Eternal Wisdom carried Ambassador Dex, Grand Minister Thorne's personal representative. On the bridge of the Eternal Wisdom, Ambassador Dex reviewed the mission briefing one final time. A tall being with silver-scaled skin and six-fingered hands, Dex had overseen a dozen Protectorate acquisitions in his long career. "Status report," he ordered. His second-in-command, a reptilian officer named Krell, approached with a datapad. "We will reach Earth's outer defense perimeter in 30 minutes. Their primitive monitoring satellites have detected our approach." "Any response?" "Nothing yet," Krell replied. "Their communications have gone silent across all channels. Even the diplomatic vessel at the Council station has stopped transmitting." Dex made a dismissive gesture. "Typical primitive reaction, they're frightened into silence. Prepare the standard intimidation display when we reach their moon. The sight of our fleet arrayed above their world usually brings these young species to their senses." Krell was about to respond when a sensor officer called out, "Ambassador!" Unusual energy readings throughout the system. "Explain," Dex demanded. The officer worked frantically at the controls. Multiple sources appearing. Everywhere. Asteroids, moons, open space, all showing power signatures that weren't there moments ago. "A sensor malfunction?" suggested Krell. "Unlikely, sir. The pattern is too—" The officer paused, antennas twitching nervously. "Too deliberate." Ambassador Dex felt the first prickle of unease. "Show me." The main view screen changed to display a tactical map of the Sol system. Suddenly points of light began to appear. First dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. Within seconds, the map was filled with new signatures, surrounding the Council fleet on all sides. "Impossible," whispered Krell. Admiral Reed stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, the flagship of humanity's first fleet. After departing the Council station in apparent diplomatic retreat, the Horizon had rendezvoused with the hidden command vessel near Neptune. "All fleet elements report ready, Admiral," announced his tactical officer. Reed nodded. "Begin Phase 1. Throughout the solar system, stealth fields deactivated in careful sequence. Like stars blinking into existence, the ships of the supernova fleet revealed themselves. Frigates hidden within the rings of Saturn emerged, their sleek hulls gleaming in the sunlight. Cruisers concealed in Jupiter's stormy atmosphere rose above the clouds. Battleships that had drifted silently in the Kuiper Belt powered up massive engines. Carriers hidden inside hollowed-out asteroids broke free from their rocky covers. And, in the vastness of the Oort cloud, the dreadnoughts, massive city-sized warships that humanity had built in absolute secrecy, activated their main power cores, sending pulses of energy that could be detected across light years. "The Council fleet has stopped advancing," reported the tactical officer. "They're holding position at the Neptune orbital line." Ellis, now serving as Reed's diplomatic advisor, watched the display with quiet satisfaction. "I imagine they're quite confused right now." "Time to enlighten them," Reed said. Open a system-wide broadcast channel. On the council station, Grand Minister Thorn was in the middle of a routine meeting when an aide rushed in, breaking all protocols of proper conduct. Minister, emergency transmission from Ambassador Dex. Before Thorn could reprimand the aide for the interruption, the chamber's main screen activated. Ambassador Dex's face appeared, his silver scales pale with what appeared to be shock. Grand Minister, Dex said, his voice unsteady. The humans, they've deceived us. Their system is... Compose yourself, Ambassador, Thorn snapped. What is happening? They have ships, Minister, thousands of them, appearing everywhere surrounding our fleet. Technology we've never seen before. Thorn rose from his seat, all four arms tensing with anger. Impossible. Our intelligence indicated. The transmission from Dex suddenly cut off, replaced by a new face, the human Admiral Reed. Greetings, Grand Minister, Reed said, his voice calm and measured. I believe we need to reopen negotiations. Throughout the council station, in chambers and corridors and gathering places, screens activated simultaneously. On each, the same image appeared. Admiral Reed standing on the bridge of a warship far more advanced than anything the humans had shown before. To the Galactic Council and all its member species, Reed began. For a century, humanity has hidden its true capabilities from the galaxy. We know of the Council's pattern, offering protection to developing worlds, only to exploit and eventually destroy them. We know of the 6 species in recent history who accepted your generosity only to suffer convenient natural disasters once they were no longer useful. In the central chamber, representatives from dozens of worlds watched in stunned silence, some with horror, others with poorly concealed delight at the Council's discomfort. Reed continued, You laughed at us. You plotted against us. You underestimated us. That was your mistake. The view on the screens pulled back to show the bridge of the Prometheus in its entirety, a command center filled with technology that even the most advanced council species recognized as equal or superior to their own. The human fleet now surrounds your diplomatic escort. Your ships are outgunned and outmatched, but unlike the council, we do not destroy potential rivals. We are transmitting coordinates for safe passage out of our system. Shut this off, Thorn demanded, but the technicians shook their heads helplessly. The signal is overriding all our systems, one explained. Reed's voice continued, reaching every corner of the station. To those species who have suffered under council domination, we offer friendship and alliance based on mutual respect, not subservience. To the council leadership, we offer a chance to reform your ways and join us as equals. The choice is yours. The transmission ended but was immediately replaced by another image, a tactical hologram showing the full might of the supernova fleet. Ships of all classes, from nimble fighters to massive dreadnoughts, each bearing the emblem of a stylized, exploding star. In the council chamber, the silence was broken by a voice. Marsh, the seemingly insignificant archive worker, stood tall among the representatives. The humans speak the truth, Marsh declared. The Valen's archives contain records of the Council's elimination of potential rivals, records we've kept hidden for our own survival. Other voices joined, representatives of smaller, oppressed species who had long suspected the Council's darker actions, but never dared speak out. Grand Minister Thorn, seeing his authority crumbling, turned to his most loyal allies. Prepare your war fleets, he ordered quietly. This human deception cannot go unpunished. Back in Sol's system, Ambassador Dex faced a difficult decision. His fleet was surrounded, with human warships holding position at strategic points to prevent escape, except through their designated corridor. Your orders, Ambassador? Asked Krell. Dex stared at the tactical display, counting the human ships, vastly outnumbering his own fleet, many showing power signatures suggesting weapons beyond Council technology. We withdraw, he said finally, through their designated corridor. And then? Dex's silver scales darkened with barely controlled rage. And then we prepare for war. These humans have not just challenged the Council, they've humiliated us before the galaxy. As the Council fleet began its retreat, Admiral Reed watched from the Prometheus bridge. "They're taking the exit route," reported his tactical officer. Ellis stepped closer to Reed. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" Reed nodded grimly. "We've won the first battle without firing a shot, but the war—" He looked at the retreating Council ships. "The war has just begun." Across Earth and its colonies, citizens watched as humanity revealed its true strength to the stars. President Wells addressed the people from the underground command center. "For 100 years we prepared in secret while presenting a humble face to the galaxy. Today, we have shown that humanity will not be consumed like those who came before us. We never wanted war, but we have always been prepared for it." 3 weeks after humanity's dramatic revelation, the galaxy was in turmoil. The Council's unified front had cracked, with member species taking different positions on how to respond to Earth. Some called for immediate war to crush the human deception. Others urged caution, impressed by the technological prowess humanity had demonstrated. On the Council station, Grand Minister Thorn faced the first serious challenge to his leadership in centuries. The central chamber, once a place of ordered procedure, now echoed with angry voices and competing demands. "Order!" Thorn shouted, his patience wearing thin. "The Council will have order." Gradually the noise subsided. Thorn looked around at the representatives, noting which species seemed supportive and which hostile. "The humans have revealed themselves as deceivers," Thorn said. "For a century, they hid their true capabilities building a war fleet while pretending to be a developing civilization. Such treachery cannot go unpunished." A representative of the Valens, Marsh's people, stood up. "And what of the Council's own deceptions? The natural disasters that conveniently eliminated rising species after they were stripped of resources?" Murmurs spread through the chamber. Such accusations had never been spoken openly before. "Baseless conspiracy theories," Thorn dismissed with a wave of his hand. "The Council protects the galaxy. Sometimes protection requires difficult decisions." "The humans claim they only want peace," said another representative from a species known as the Kalari. "Perhaps we should open genuine negotiations." Thorn's inner eyelids flickered with annoyance. "While we debate, the humans prepare. Already, 7 species have announced treaties with Earth, breaking their Council obligations. The Grav Dominion has requested permission to take military action to protect Council interests." "The Grav want war," objected the Valens representative. "They always have." "The Grav understand strength," Thorn countered, "and how to use it when necessary." After hours of debate, a vote was taken. The Council remained divided, but a narrow majority supported military action. Not a formal declaration of war, but security operations to contain human aggression. As the session ended, Thorn met privately with the Grav commander, General Vex. The Grav were massive beings with thick armored skin and a warrior culture that dominated 100 worlds. "You have authorization to conduct limited operations," Thorn told Vex. "Begin with their outer colonies. Test their defenses, their response times. Find weaknesses." Vex's mouth, a horizontal slit beneath 4 yellow eyes, twisted into what passed for a smile among his kind. "It will be done, Minister. The humans have ships, yes. But do they have the will to use them? We shall see." At Proxima Centauri, humanity's oldest colony world, morning broke across the capital city of New Hope. 30 years of development had transformed what began as a simple outpost into a thriving community of 500,000 people. Governor Taylor stood at the window of his office, looking out at the city's clean streets and elegant buildings. A century of preparation had not just created the supernova fleet. It had also ensured that when humanity finally spread to the stars, they did so efficiently and effectively. His assistant entered the office. "Governor, we've received a priority message from Earth Command. Deep space sensors have detected a fleet approaching the system, not on any registered flight path." Taylor's expression hardened. "How long?" 6 hours until they reach our outer defenses." Taylor nodded. "Implement Security Protocol Alpha. Begin civilian evacuation to the shelter complexes, and notify Commander Park that her fleet should prepare to receive visitors. Hidden in orbit, around Proxima Centauri's ice giant, the warships of the Supernova Fleet's 3rd Battle Group had been on high alert since the revelation. 25 vessels from frigates to the battleship Defiance maintained their positions, sensors scanning the darkness between stars. Commander Park, a veteran of countless training exercises but never actual combat, stood calmly on the bridge of the Defiance. The unidentified fleet has dropped out of FTL, reported her sensor officer. Configuration matches Grav Dominion vessels. 47 ships, heavily armed. Park studied the tactical display. Their approach vector? Directly toward the colony, Commander. No attempt at stealth or evasion. They expect an easy victory, Park said, more to herself than to her crew. They think we're untested. She tapped her command console. All ships, this is Commander Park. The Grav have come to test us. Let's show them what humanity can do. General Vex observed the human colony from the bridge of his flagship, the Subjugator. A primitive settlement, on a barely terraformed world, hardly worth the effort but a good place to demonstrate the consequences of defying the Council. Scan for defenses, he ordered. His tactical officer worked the controls, then looked up in confusion. General, we're detecting no orbital platforms, no defensive installations. Vex made a sound of satisfaction. As expected, the humans concentrated, their forces at their home system. Their colonies are vulnerable. He turned to his weapons officer. Prepare orbital bombardment. Target their population centers first, then infrastructure. General, interrupted the sensor officer, I'm detecting energy signatures appearing throughout the system. Vex frowned. Explain. Similar to what was reported in the Sol system. Ships. Decloaking. Before Vex could respond, the tactical display lit up with new contacts. Human warships appearing where none had been detected moments before. Behind moons, within planetary rings, and in seemingly empty space. Battle formations, Vex ordered, but it was already too late for proper deployment. His fleet had entered, the system in a casual attack formation, not prepared for serious resistance. The human vessels moved with precision that spoke of years of training. They split into 3 groups. One engaged the Grav vanguard, another circled to cut off retreat, while the third positioned itself between the colony and the attackers. Open fire, Vex commanded. All ships, engage the humans. The blackness of space lit up with energy weapons as the first shots of the war were exchanged. Grav beam weapons powerful enough to crack planetary crusts lashed out at the human ships. But where they should have struck hull plate, they instead hit shimmering energy shields that absorbed or deflected the attacks. Their shield technology, muttered Vex's science officer. It's unlike anything in our database. The humans returned fire. Rather than the expected plasma weapons common to developing species, they launched precision strikes that targeted engines, weapon systems, and command nodes. The Grav heavy cruiser dominance spun out of control, its main power disabled by a weapon that hadn't damaged the hull but had somehow disrupted all energy systems within. What kind of weapon did that? Demanded Vex. Unknown, General. Some type of electromagnetic pulse, but focused and penetrating. 3 more Grav ships were disabled in quick succession, not destroyed. The humans seemed to be deliberately avoiding kills, but rendered combat ineffective. Vex slammed his fist on the command console. All ships regroup, form defensive sphere. But the careful coordination that might have saved. His fleet was impossible now. The human attacks had targeted communication systems, leaving each Grav ship to fight alone. Within 30 minutes, half of Vex's fleet was disabled or retreating. On the bridge of the Defiance, Commander Park watched the battle with calm professionalism. Maintain containment pattern. Don't let their remaining capital ships escape. Commander, said her communications officer, we're receiving a transmission from the Grav flagship. Park nodded. On screen, General Vex's face appeared, his yellow eyes blazing with anger and something else, Respect, perhaps, or fear. You fight well, humans, he growled. Better than expected. This was a test, Park replied. Not a question, but a statement. You wanted to see our capabilities. And we have, Vex acknowledged. Allow my remaining ships to retreat, and this battle ends today. Park considered briefly. Withdraw beyond the system boundary. Any ship that returns will be considered hostile and destroyed. Not disabled, destroyed. Vex nodded once, then the transmission ended. As the remaining grav ships limped away, Park sent a message to Earth Command. First engagement complete. Minimal casualties. Enemy repelled. The supernova fleet has drawn first blood. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Wells received the news with mixed emotions, pride in the victory, sadness that diplomacy had failed. And so it begins, Wells said quietly. The war we spent a century preparing for. 6 months into the war, the galaxy had transformed. The once unified Galactic Council had splintered into 3 distinct factions. The Hardliners, led by Grand Minister Thorn, and the Grav Dominion, who continued to fight against humanity. The Liberty Compact, an alliance of former Council species now aligned with Earth, and the Neutrals, who tried to avoid taking sides in the growing conflict. Admiral Reed stood on the observation deck of the Prometheus, watching as ships from a dozen allied species formed up alongside the vessels of the supernova fleet. The sight would have been unimaginable just months ago, humans fighting alongside aliens, united against the tyranny of the Council. Quite the armada, said Ellis, joining him at the viewport. No longer just a diplomat, she now served as the chief ambassador to the Liberty Compact. 30 years ago, we wondered if we were alone in the universe, Reed replied. Now we're leading a coalition of species against the most powerful government in known space. Ellis smiled. And 6 months ago, they were laughing at us. The Prometheus was currently stationed at Arcturus Gate, a strategic nexus point where multiple hyperspace lanes converged. Whoever controlled this region could rapidly deploy forces to a dozen different star systems, which was why both sides were determined to claim it. Reed's communications officer approached. Admiral, President Wells is ready for the briefing. In the ship's secure conference room, a holographic projection of President Wells appeared, looking tired but resolute. Admiral, Ambassador, Wells greeted them. I've just finished reviewing the latest intelligence. The Hardliners are planning something big. We've detected unusual movements near the Sirius corridor, Reed confirmed. The Grav are assembling their main battle fleet, and they've been joined by several other Council loyalist forces. They're also deploying new weapons, added General Stone, joining the conversation from Ceres base. Our intelligence suggests they've activated technologies previously banned by the Council's own laws. Wells nodded grimly. Specifically star killers, weapons capable of inducing premature nova events in main sequence stars. A heavy silence fell over the conference room. They wouldn't, Ellis said finally. Even the Hardliners must realize that. Using such weapons would unite every species against them. Desperation makes for dangerous enemies, Stone replied. The Grav have lost every major engagement with our forces. Thorn's leadership is being questioned openly now. They need a decisive victory. Or a decisive atrocity, Reed said quietly. Something so terrible that other species would submit out of fear. Wells looked at each of them in turn. We believe their target is Arcturus Gate. Your current position. If they can destroy our forces there and collapse the gate itself, they could isolate multiple Liberty Compact worlds from support. When? Asked Reed. Intelligence suggests 3 days. Reed straightened. Then we'll be ready for them. On the Council station, now half empty as numerous species had withdrawn their representatives, Grand Minister Thorn met with General Vex in a heavily guarded chamber. The weapons are ready? Thorn asked. Vex nodded. 3 star killers as requested. Once deployed, they will destabilize the Arcturus star within hours. Nothing within the system will survive. And the human fleet? Our intelligence confirms they are gathering at Arcturus Gate, along with their Allies. Vex spoke the last word with disgust. Thorn's four arms moved in a complex gesture of satisfaction. You understand what is at stake. The Council has maintained order for 2,000 years. We cannot allow a species that lied about its capabilities for a century to destroy everything we've built. The humans must be taught their place, Vex agreed. This will break their coalition. When other species see that we can destroy entire stars, they will return to the Council's protection. Proceed with the operation, Thorn ordered. Show no mercy. At Arcturus Gate, Reed had positioned his forces in a defensive formation around the massive artificial structure that regulated hyperspace travel between star systems. Ships from Earth, the Valens, and half a dozen other former Council species stood ready. All ships report combat ready, Admiral, said his tactical officer. Reed nodded. And our special preparations? In place, sir. Operation Starshield is ready to implement on your command. For weeks, human scientists had worked alongside their alien allies, developing countermeasures to the rumored star killers. It was a technology humanity had considered and abandoned a century ago. Too destructive, too uncertain, too likely to create galactic instability. We've received the latest intelligence update, reported the communications officer. The hardliner fleet has departed Sirius. They'll arrive within hours. Reed turned to Ellis. Contact our allies. Make sure everyone understands the stakes. If the hardliners deploy star killers here and succeed, no world will be safe. The battle began conventionally. Enough. The hardliner fleet, over 200 vessels, dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Arcturus system. The Liberty Compact forces, slightly fewer in number but with superior positioning, held their defensive formation. For an hour, the two fleets exchanged fire at long range, probing defenses, testing weaknesses. Several ships on both sides were damaged, but the lines held. Then, as human intelligence had predicted, the hardliners changed tactics. 3 massive vessels, unlike any standard warship, moved forward from the center of their formation. Star killers detected, announced Reed's tactical officer, voice tight with tension. Reed stood from his command chair. All ships, execute Operation Starshield. Authorization Reed Alpha 7. Throughout the Liberty Compact fleet, specially, modified vessels moved into new positions, forming a complex three-dimensional pattern around the star. Each activated unusual devices attached to their hulls, technology that humanity had developed decades ago but never deployed. On the main, hardliner vessel, General Vex watched with confusion as the human fleet rearranged itself. What are they doing? He demanded. His science officer studied the readings. Unknown, General. They appear to be generating some kind of field around the star. Irrelevant. Deploy the star killers. The 3 specialized vessels moved closer to Arcturus's sun, each extending massive energy collectors designed to tap into and destabilize the star's fusion processes. Star killers at deployment range, reported Vex's weapons officer. Activating now. Energy beams lanced from the star killers toward the sun's churning surface. For a moment, it seemed the attack would succeed. The star's output fluctuated, radiation levels spiked, and the surface began to roil unnaturally. But then something unexpected happened. The devices deployed by the Liberty Compact fleet activated simultaneously, creating a shimmering energy web around the star. The destabilizing beams from the star killers hit this web and dissipated. What's happening? Vex demanded. Why isn't it working? The humans, his science officer replied in disbelief. They've created some kind of stabilization field. They're counteracting the star killer technology. On the Prometheus, Reed watched as Operation Starshield performed exactly as designed. Status: Starshield holding at 87% efficiency, reported his science officer. The star's condition is stabilizing. Reed nodded. All ships advance. Target the star killers first, then their command vessels. The Liberty Compact fleet surged forward, no longer purely defensive. Ships from Earth, the Valens, and other allied species moved with perfect coordination. focusing overwhelming firepower on the hardliners' specialized weapons platforms. The first star killer exploded in a blaze of light as multiple torpedo salvos breached its shields. The second lost power after a precise strike from a Valen cruiser. The third managed to withdraw but was cut off from the main hardliner fleet. General Vex watched in disbelief as his supposedly unstoppable weapons were neutralized within minutes. All ships hold position. Prepare for... He never finished the order. A precision strike from the Prometheus disabled the subjugator's main bridge, cutting off command. Without leadership facing a technology they didn't understand that had negated their ultimate weapon, the hardliner fleet began to fragment. Some ships continued fighting. Others attempted to retreat. Many simply surrendered when faced with the coordinated attacks of the Liberty Compact forces. 2 days later, representatives from across the galaxy gathered on a neutral station to discuss terms. Grand Minister Thorn, stripped of his position by a vote of no confidence, was absent. In his place stood a coalition of former council species, now ready to rebuild galactic governance on more equal terms. President Wells addressed the gathering. The attempt to use star killers marks a line that should never have been crossed. But from this darkness comes an opportunity to create a new galactic community based on mutual respect rather than domination. Admiral Reed and Ambassador Ellis stood among representatives from 24 species, many of which had been oppressed under the old council. The galaxy laughed at humanity when we first appeared, Ellis said to the assembly. They thought us weak, primitive, naive. But today we offer not conquest, but partnership. Not revenge, but reconciliation. Reed looked out at the representatives, beings of every shape, size, and evolutionary background. A century ago, when we discovered we were not alone, humanity prepared for the worst. We built fleets and weapons, hid our capabilities, prepared for war. But what we truly sought was simply the right to exist freely among the stars. As the E-or new alliance took shape with treaties being signed and cooperative projects established, Reed turned to Ellis. Do you think it will last? He asked quietly. Ellis smiled. The war isn't over. There are still hardliners out there. But today we've proven something important. What's that? That the galaxy is stronger together than divided. That cooperation can overcome tyranny. She looked out at the stars. 100 years of preparation gave us the strength to fight, but it's what we choose to do with that strength that truly matters. The former council, which had laughed at humanity and planned their subjugation, was gone. In its place stood something new, a Liberty Compact of diverse species, united by shared values rather than fear. And at its heart stood humanity. No longer hiding, no longer pretending to be less than they were. The supernova fleet, built in secret for war, now served as the foundation for peace among the stars.